Hello and welcome to Magnetic Learning. In today's session, we are going to learn about the use of was and were with proper explanation and exercises. So let's get started. Was and were are helping verbs. They are used with past tense sentences. Was and were show past time. We use was and were when we talk about something which has already happened, the action which has already taken place. Use of was. Where do we use was? Okay, we use was for a singular noun or pronoun. Was is the past tense of verb to be. That's what we learned now. The word was can be used only with the first and third person singular. Remember, only singular noun or pronoun we have to use. Like I, which is your first person, singular. He, she, it. He, she and it are your third person singular. And with this you use was, like I was, he was, she was, or it was. Now using was, how do we use was? With subject which has to be singular, like I was plus verb. I was playing object. I was playing with a ball. Okay, so like this you can frame a sentence. And how you are framing sentence using was subject singular with that plus was plus verb plus object. And then how are you going to use was? That picture is shown over here. Was is what? Past of verb to be, and it is used with I, he, singular noun, she and it. So you have to keep in mind that the use of was is with the first and third person singular and subject singular plus was plus verb plus object. Okay. Let's see a few examples to understand the use of was better. Here, the first example here says the sentence is he was absent yesterday. So what do you see? He. He is what? Your third person. And with this third person singular, was is used. He was absent yesterday. Second sentence, my grandfather, one person. We are talking about singular person, right? Singular noun. My grandfather was freedom fighter. So one person, singular noun. So with singular noun, was will be used. Then comes your third sentence which says the house was small. We are talking about the house. Okay, what noun we are talking about? House. And how many houses we are talking about? Only one house. Only we are talking about one house. So if we are talking about singular object or noun, then we are going to use was. What are we going to use? Was. So we will say the house was small. Then comes the dog was barking at the stranger. The dog. Only one dog we are talking about. So with one singular noun we are using was. The dog was barking at the stranger. Then it. It. And it is what? It is your third person. Okay, singular. So it was raining heavily yesterday. We're talking about something which has already taken place yesterday. We're talking about the rain which has already taken place yesterday. It was raining yesterday. So was the event or the action which has already taken place. So we are using was, past tense sentence. It is a past tense sentence. And then comes Rima was playing. Okay, she was playing. Now she is not playing. She was playing. And Rima is what? Rima is noun. Yes, one person. So singular noun. With singular noun, was is used. And all these sentences are past sentences. Okay, past tense sentences means all these action all these actions have already taken place. Okay, the dog was barking at the stranger. Now it is not barking. Okay, now it is not raining. Now Rima is not playing, but she was playing. Okay, Rima was playing. So with the past tense sentences we use was, and was is used with singular noun and singular pronoun. And what pronoun? First person and third person. Am I clear till here? Now let's talk about the use of were. Were is the past tense of the verb to be. Were and was both are the past tense of the verb to be, but they both are different. Okay, the uses is different. Now what is the use of were? Were is used with you and plural noun or pronoun like Ram and Shyam, you, we, they. Now here Ram and Shyam both a plural noun because two persons we are talking about. You is plural second person, we is plural first person, and they is plural third person. So we are talking about plural noun and plural pronoun. And how are we using were? Subject should be plural always, like Ram and Shyam. You is a plural subject, we plural pronoun, and they plural. So with this plural subject you will use were plus your verb, any verb you're talking about, the action you're talking about, plus object. So how we are framing a sentence? Let's see one example to understand this. Ram and Shyam, plural subject, were, because we are talking about two persons, so we will be using were. Verb, same sentence we are using, playing with a ball. Object. So Ram and Shyam were playing with a ball. Here we have to keep in mind this picture, that where we are going to use were. Were is used with you, we, they, and plural noun. So if you keep this in mind, then you will understand that how you have to frame sentences, and how will you understand where your past tense verb of to be, were, is to be used. Examples. Let's talk about few examples to understand the use of were. Example number 1. Sentence says Ram and Raj were best friends. Okay, Ram and Raj, two persons, and this is plural noun. With plural noun what do we use? Were. So we will say Ram and Raj were best friends. Next comes you were not present in the class yesterday. So what is the subject over here? Subject is you, right? And you is what? Plural. Plural of? Plural second person. So we will say you were not, you were, not you was. You were not present in the class yesterday. So with you we use were. Next sentence is children were playing. Children. Children is plural noun. Yes, one child, many children. So with many children, because here plural noun is used, so with many children what we are going to use? Was or were? Were. So we will be saying were. Children were playing, not children was playing. Children were playing, because here our subject is plural. So with plural subject we use were. Then comes they were not happy. Sentence number 4, they were not happy. Our subject is they. Third person plural they. Okay, and we have now, by now we know our plural subject means were. So we are going to write were. They were not happy. And then comes we were not at home last evening. With we were. With we, what do we use? It is a plural subject. With plural subject, what do we use? Were. So we were not at home last evening. So this is the use of were. Were is used with plural noun or pronoun. Let's do one exercise based on was and were. The question is, circle the correct option. Circle the correct answer. Here the first question is, the first sentence is, the weather were sunny yesterday. So we are talking about the weather. What is the subject over here? The weather. And weather is or was. We are talking about yesterday. Yes, the action which has already taken place. That means this is a past tense sentence. And for past tense sentence, we are using was or were. Right? Now, was will be used or were will be used. That we have to see. We are talking about weather. And with weather, one particular thing we are talking about. So, we will be answering it as was. The weather was sunny yesterday. We never say weather were. Weather is. Weather was. Okay, the weather was sunny yesterday. Next, sentence number 2. Sam and Peter were very busy. Okay, now let's see our subject. Sam and Peter. Okay, now you tell me, is it a singular subject or a plural subject? It's a noun, right? Sam and Peter, they are noun. So is it singular noun or a plural noun? Plural noun, because we are talking about two persons. We are talking about two people. Sam and Peter, they are two people. So with two persons, what will be used? Was or were. Where will be used, right? Were will be used. So we will write Sam and Peter were very busy. Then comes the third sentence. It says, that were my brother's favorite toy. That were my brother's favorite toy. With that, was or were, what will be there? We are talking about toy, one particular thing. Okay, this is the object. Okay, and that, this, that, with that or this, what will be used? Was. What we are going to use? Was. So that was, we are talking about one particular toy. So that was my brother's favorite toy. Okay, next sentence. They were at the beach yesterday evening. So they is used with, they is plural, right? It is plural third person. So we are going to use were. Its subject is our plural. So we will use were. So we'll say they were at the beach yesterday evening. And then comes she. Sentence number 5. She were reading a book when I saw her. She is singular subject, right? It's a singular subject, third person, singular third person, right? So we are going to use was with she, and we are going to say she was reading a book when I saw her. Okay, now let's do one more exercise on was and were. The instruction given here is fill in the blanks with was or were. And here a table is been given for help, which says singular subjects, with which singular subject was is used, and with which plural subject were is going to be used. So you can take the help of this table to answer these fill in the blanks. The first sentence says, how old dash Kim last year? So we know that now we are going to get all the sentences which are past tense sentences. Okay. So we use was and were for the action or for when we talk about something which has already happened. So we are talking about Kim for last year, not for this year. So Kim is a name, right? It's a noun, singular noun. So with singular noun, what do we use? We use was. So we will say, how old was Kim last year? Second sentence is, the color pencils dash under the table. So what is the subject over here? Color pencils. S. We're not talking about one pencil. We're talking about more than one pencil. So here plural subject, plural noun. So if your noun is plural, so with that what do we use? Was or were? Were. So we will say the color pencils were under the table. Sentence number 3. The English test dash very easy. We are talking about the English test. English is the subject. Okay, one subject we are talking about. So what are we going to write? English test were or was? Subject is singular. So with singular subject, what are we going to use? Was. So we will say the English test was very easy. They. They is used for plural. They dash jumping on the bed. So here we are talking about they. So it is plural subject. We are talking about plural third person. So what are we going to use? Were. They were jumping on the bed. Next sentence is, a man dash walking with his dog. So what is the subject over here? A man. Singular subject, singular noun. So with that you will use was. By now you must have understood with singular subject, singular noun or pronoun you are going to use was. So a man was walking with his dog. Next is I. So this is your singular subject. Singular subject first person I. I was reading a book. A lot of students dash working. Students S plural. So your subject is plural. So with plural were. A lot of students were working. You. You is yes second person plural. So what are we going to use here? You were on the truck. You were on the truck. So with you we use were. So you can see the table. With you we use were. So like this you will, if you keep this table in your mind, and then if you read the question properly, then you will understand where you are using was and where you are using were. So to always look for the subject and then decide was or where you have to use were, where you have to use was. Let's recap. We use was and were when we talk about something that has already happened. So we have come to know that was and were, they are past tense verb. Okay, they are the past tense of the verb to be. And how do we use them? We use was for first person singular I and third person singular he, she, it. For example, he was reading a book with he, which is singular third person subject. We are using was. And how do we use were? We use were for second person you, first person plural we, and third person plural they. And what is the example for this? They were celebrating Sam's birthday. So we use was with singular noun or pronoun, and we use were with plural noun or pronoun. Having learned the use of was and were, let's find the difference between these two pictures and write in past tense sentences. Let's see how we can frame past tense sentences using was and were. Was will be used with singular subject and were will be used for plural subject. Remember that. Keeping that in mind, you have to compare these two pictures. You have to keep this picture for your past tense reference. First, observe the pictures. Here we see there's difference in the color of flowers. Okay. The bun is small and here is big. Or we can also say that maybe it is a little out, or maybe that is kept a little in. Maybe it's little pushed in. But we will take it as big and small. We'll talk about size only. Then we see here one green apple and here two apples. Fine. And then some more difference. Okay, here 4 muffins and here we see only 3. Alright, so having seen these differences, let's frame 2 or 3 sentences. Okay, here comes the sentences. So we will say was, comparing this picture to this picture. The bun was small. In this picture, what did we see? The bun was small. When we come to the muffins, we will say there were 4 muffins. There were 4 muffins. And then when we come to the flowers, then we will say the flowers was, or the flowers were. The flowers were white in color. The flowers were white in color. So like this we can frame past tense sentences by comparing things also. So if you keep all these exercises, if you will practice keeping some pictures or doing exercises on like fill in the blanks or choosing the correct option, if you practice more and more, you will understand the use of was and verb very nicely, and that will come in practice of your speaking skills also. If I was versus if I were. Now let's understand what if I was and if I were mean. Many people use the two terms interchangeably without realizing the meaning of it. The rule is simple. Was is used for statements that describe reality. For example, I wanted to become a writer when I was younger. So this sentence is talking about reality, that I wanted to become a writer, not a dancer or a musician or something else. Wanted to become a writer only. This is the reality. So that is why was is used. Right? I wanted to become a writer when I was younger. So when do we use were? When making a hypothesis and saying something that you wish for. For subjunctive mood, you use were. This means that were is used for hypothetical or imaginary situation. For example, if I were you, I would have taken it. This is because a verb is in subjunctive mood. which is expressing something that is not reality. If I were you, I would have taken it. Means you have not taken it, but you're talking about a situation, imaginary situation, such as something that is hypothetical, you're wishing for, or conditional. Let's see one more example. If for example, I wish I were a better dancer. So the example is, I wish I were a better dancer. So this is also a hypothetical sentence. Okay, saying something which is imaginary, which which is giving you an imaginary sentence, that I wish I were. Okay, but now, right now, not a very good dancer, but wants to be a very good dancer. So wishing to be a better dancer, wishing to be a better dancer. So there we say, I wish I were a better dancer, not I wish I was a better dancer. I were a better dancer. So I hope it is clear till here. So children, if you have found the session to be interesting and helpful, then please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. Until then, keep learning, keep growing.